what is exactly aftercare as I show off my aftercare bear. So, before we get into that, this is a BDSM 001 module. This is about learning the basics of BDSM. In a lot of these videos, we go over the very basics. However, I think this one's important to dive into a little bit because it's the one often most forgotten. So that's why we're bringing it all the way to 001. Before you play with someone, you have to understand that that person might need aftercare. And if you're someone who doesn't like doing certain things, you're going to have to negotiate or not play with that person. You can't just say, I don't do aftercare. We teach that as a red flag behavior. If you're going to interact with a person, they deserve to have the aftercare they need. Now, if you're not a hugger or a cuddler, that's fine. You can sit next to them, get them a water. There are many things. So what are aftercare? Well, I'm going to ask everyone watching this video to put down in the comments what they need. I'm going to give you a few basic examples. Some people want to have blankets wrapped around them. Some people want to cuddle. Some people want a stuffed animal. Some people want food. Some people want like an energy bar, a bottle of water. A lot of screaming can go on with play. So these are some of the things that some people would want after playing. And they might also want to have 10 minutes of quiet. So if you're a top or a dom, do not run in and start asking them what they thought of the scene. Be with them in the moment. Be mindful. This is negotiated, by the way, during your negotiation to have a scene, and it is just important and should be part of the consent package when you're asking for consent. If this is a one-time play, you can do it one time. If you're playing more regularly with someone, then you're going to want to negotiate exactly what it is, including making an aftercare kit bag. If you are someone who plays with multiple partners, I would suggest making your own aftercare play bag, things you might need. Some people like change of clothes, some people like looser clothes, and like I said, in the comments, people are going to fill in some of the things that are their favorite things. And we'll probably wind up doing a follow-up in the 101 for the things that people suggested to put in your aftercare bag. A few more things: Advil, first aid kit, mouthwash, for all that screaming we were talking about, breath mints could possibly be it. You know, all the things that could help. So, aftercare also includes pre-care and going beyond right after the play. So let's explain. Now, even if you don't have a dynamic with the person and you have a way to connect with them, usually maybe a profile on the FetLife, you want to reach out to them within 24 hours, see how they're doing. Then check in at 3 days. Now, 3 days, if they seem perfectly fine, and this should be negotiated, you can no longer contact them. However, if they're a partner or in a dynamic with you, you should always be checking in on your partner and just make sure for the first 3 days you're checking in with them. What sub-drop is this sudden just dropping of chemicals. We talked about it back in the body chemicals in BDSM. You just suddenly feel like, ugh. You ever go to like a giant adventure, go on vacation, you get home and you're just exhausted and you need a vacation from your vacation? That's kind of sub-drop, except depression can form from it, anxiety, feeling, even though you had the bestest time in the whole world, you might feel like the person might not like you for some reason. It doesn't have to make sense. It's an emotional drop. Our chemicals are kind of realigning. This can last up to 7 days. So make sure you're checking in on your partner for at least 7 days. Now, if you're just a play partner or once off, then you do want to still check in within 3 days, and if they show any signs, do not cut communication. Keep the doors open. Maybe check in on them every day. If they are your play partner, your dynamic partner, you'll know how to kind of cheer them up. Now, the pre-care, this is important. So some people pre-care, you're going to have to negotiate, and as a top, you should be making this part of who you are. Top means just the one in charge of the scene. That means any honorific that goes with it, master, dom. I know some people say that, oh, tops aren't doms and doms aren't tops, and we can get into that later down the road. But for right now, we're going to refer to the top as the person in charge of the scene, doing the implements. They are the ones who should be checking in on the bottoms. Bottoms should not have to check in with the tops unless the top has asked for it. In the negotiation of this, when you're doing the aftercare, a top can say, hey, can you check in on me? Sometimes I feel, or I'd really appreciate a text. Always remember, these simple things people are asking, don't make them like insurmountable. Just check in on them. Make them feel special as they probably made you feel special. We are in a powered exchange world. That is what BDSM is. So pre-care are the things that you need to make sure as a top that the bottom has done. Have you drank? Have you gone to the bathroom? That's an important one, especially if you're doing rope bondage. Did you take any medicine today, like an Advil or so, or especially an aspirin? Aspirin could have different effects. Well, if you're curious, go look it up. But the side effects of aspirin aren't necessarily good for certain reasons in BDSM that we won't discuss here, because it can encourage your behavior. You also want to ask, did you sleep okay? How was work? Are you very stressed? How's your body? Pre-care should also be, do you need to do some stretching before we play? I greatly suggest stretching before playing, even for the tops. Just quick, side to side, touch your toes, kind of do a couple squats, get ready for it. Now, your pre-care is going to look different for everybody, what works for you, but it's basically getting there. Some people want to listen to music for a little bit. Other people might want to go for a walk and a talk. Some people might want to watch a television show if you're not playing in a dungeon and you're playing at home. Some people want to ease into it, especially with as heavy as it can be. So ask the person what their pre-care looks like and make sure to put that into what you're doing. If you guys have any questions, feel free to drop them. If you think I missed something, always add it in the comment section. And remember, it looks different for everyone, and this is an 001, so this is the basics. If you guys want me to do a follow-up video with a few more techniques that I know and I have done, I'm happy to do that. But for right now, especially if you're new, explore what you would need. Sit down and really ask yourself, what would I want to make sure of before if you're the top? If you're a bottom, what would you want to make sure of too? Make sure you're peeing. In case, not you're peeing, but you pee. Because you don't want your partner to have to ask that maybe, or maybe you're not there. Take control. Be your own advocate, my friends. So submissive or not, make sure you're taking care of yourself before play. And it's not a common practice for someone to ask if you've peed, especially if someone's new to you. So take it upon yourself, because you don't want to be tied up and suddenly have to pee, especially in suspension. The ropes can push. And there's a bigger conversation here, of course, that we could have. I've given you what I think is appropriate for an 001 module. There's a lot you can play with, and this should be very customizable. So go out there and plan your pre-care and your aftercare and have an amazing scene that is consensual. Remember, just as a bonus, consent is gotten through negotiation, sharing playlists, sharing risk profiles, and all those things. And we're going to talk about a risk profile and a play profile coming up in the modules ahead. Keep watching. This can be found along with all the other videos in our playlist right on top of the first videos on our channel's profile page.